The silent revenge of a corporate whistleblower. At the heart of New York's financial district, a powerful corporation thrived on ambition, where profit often outweighed integrity. Within its towering glass walls, Ethan Miller worked tirelessly. Known for his honesty and sharp eye, he was respected for his dedication, but dismissed by many as too straightforward in a culture that valued silence over truth. Above him stood Claire Johnson, the formidable chief financial officer. Brilliant yet calculating, she wielded influence with precision, ensuring that questionable decisions were quietly swept under the rug. And at the very top sat Mark Stevens, the charismatic CEO. To outsiders, he was the visionary leader every investor admired. Behind closed doors, however, his sole obsession was the company's stock price and his own reputation, leaving little room for morality. The calm shattered when Ethan uncovered troubling inconsistencies in the company's financial reports. Hidden beneath the polished surface were fabricated numbers designed to disguise an enormous debt. Believing it was his duty, Ethan raised the issue, expecting accountability. Instead, his concerns were buried, his warnings reframed as reckless behavior. The man who only wanted to protect the company's future was branded as a disruptor, setting in motion a conflict that would challenge loyalty, ambition, and the price of truth. Ethan's downfall came swiftly and brutally. In a crowded conference room filled with colleagues and executives, he was dismissed from the company in the most public and humiliating way. The same people who once shook his hand now looked away, whispering behind his back as if he were a traitor. His reputation crumbled overnight. A man once respected for his integrity was suddenly painted as a troublemaker, leaving him isolated, jobless, and drowning in despair. Every dream he had built over years of hard work seemed to collapse in that single moment. But Ethan refused to let the injustice define him. Beneath the pain, a quiet determination grew. Instead of walking away, he began a meticulous plan for silent retribution. With patience and precision, he gathered documents, emails, and records that revealed the truth hidden within the company's walls. He knew he could not fight a corporation head-on, but he could ensure that the truth would find its way to light. In secret, he reached out to Jessica Lee, a sharp investigative journalist known for exposing corporate fraud. Together, they crafted a strategy not of revenge, but of revelation. As the company prepared for its grand quarterly report, showcasing impressive yet fraudulent numbers to reassure investors, Ethan and Jessica made their move. On the very same morning, they released undeniable evidence to the public. Internal memos, falsified statements, and confidential reports surfaced, painting a starkly different picture of the company's health. The timing was devastating. What was meant to be a celebration of growth instantly turned into chaos. Investors panicked, stock prices plummeted, and employees scrambled for answers. Claire Johnson, the once untouchable CFO, faced sharp legal scrutiny. Mark Stevens, the charismatic CEO who had built his reputation on charm and illusion, now found himself cornered by the very truth he had tried to bury. Ethan, though still scarred by his ordeal, finally witnessed justice take shape. His voice alone had been silenced, but through persistence and courage, he had allowed the truth to speak louder than any accusation, reshaping not only the fate of the company, but his own place in the fight for integrity. The fallout was as dramatic as the scandal itself. Claire Johnson, once celebrated as a financial genius, was arrested and charged with fraud and manipulation of corporate reports. Her carefully crafted image of power and precision collapsed in an instant, leaving only the shadow of her schemes. Mark Stevens, the charismatic CEO who had built his reputation on charm and illusion, was forced to resign. His departure was not a graceful exit, but a retreat filled with disgrace, his legacy forever stained by greed. But for Ethan, the ending was more complicated. He never returned to the company he had once served so loyally. Instead, he became recognized publicly as a whistleblower, a rare figure who had dared to challenge the system from within. People admired his courage, yet admiration did little to heal the wounds left behind. His career was fractured, his name still tangled in controversy, and the path forward was uncertain. Though the truth had prevailed, Ethan carried scars that could not be erased. The cost of integrity was steep. The loss of friendships, the erosion of his professional reputation, and the loneliness that comes from standing apart. Yet, in the quiet of his reflection, he understood the deeper lesson. Victory was not about personal glory, but about ensuring that deception could not remain hidden forever. His sacrifice was a reminder that truth has a price, but also a power strong enough to change the course of even the mightiest institutions. Now the story leaves us with a question that reaches beyond the walls of a single corporation. What would you do if you discovered a hidden truth at your own workplace? Would you dare to speak up, risking your career and reputation? Or would you stay silent, convincing yourself that it is safer to look away? Ethan's journey reminds us that justice is never simple. Standing up for what is right does not always lead to personal happiness or a clear victory. In fact, it often demands sacrifice, loneliness, and scars that linger long after the battle is over. Yet silence carries its own cost. Ignoring corruption only allows darkness to spread further, leaving more lives and futures at risk. This is not just Ethan's story. It is a reflection of the choices many of us may one day face. Do we prioritize comfort and survival, or do we take the harder path to ensure truth is heard? Now it is your turn. Share your thoughts. Was Ethan a hero who deserves recognition for his courage, or was he a naive dreamer who destroyed his own career? Your perspective matters, because in the end, each voice shapes how society values truth. I honestly can't stop thinking about Ethan's story. It's more than just a corporate scandal. It's a brutal reminder of how easily truth can be buried when money and power are at stake. What hit me hardest wasn't the fraud itself, but how Ethan was humiliated, discarded like nothing for simply doing the right thing. Isn't that what so many of us fear at work, being silenced or punished for speaking up? His quiet revenge wasn't about glory, it was about exposing the lies. And yet he still lost so much. Was it worth it? That's what I want to hear from you. Would you risk everything for integrity, or keep your head down and survive?